Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the December meeting of the West Glamorgan Archives Committee. Lovely to see you all. Gareth, first of all, do we have any apologies for absence, please?
Yeah, a couple of chair from Janet Watkins and then a couple of officers, Claire Davis and Tracy McNulty.
Thank you very much. Our next item is disclosures of personal or prejudicial interests. Are there any, please?
Well, as I'm referred to in the appendix, I was the one who deposited the Bethlehem Candler archives with the archivists.
Thank you very much.
And very welcome it was too.
Our next item are the minutes of the last meeting, which was held on Friday the 13th of September. May I please have your approval that they are a correct record of the meeting? Thank you. Thank you. And Andrew, are there any matters arising that you would like to bring to the committee's attention?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things. First of all, on the issue of the Archives Online catalogue on page 3, I would love to have put a chunk in the actual report saying that everything was up and running and that our new catalogue was available. But at the time of writing the report, there was nothing extra to report. It's been going through negotiations between IT and the suppliers, and various things need to be signed off. But we've restarted and it looks as though it will get up and running in sort of January, February time. That was the first thing. Secondly, on page 5, under joint working, I mentioned at the last meeting that the service had formed a cooperative partnership with staff at Swansea Museum, etc. And the project was the subject of a funding bid led by Swansea Museum. Unfortunately, the funding bid was not successful. So, of course, we had to try and decide how much of this we could actually do without the funding bid. And it's we've got here, it's intended that it will result in an oral history reminiscence project. So a member of our staff has met with members of the LGBTQ community to see if that's possible, to see if group members would be interested in either doing the recording themselves or being recorded. And there was an overwhelming interest in that meeting. So we have every reason to think that something very sort of useful and interesting will come out of it. And we're very grateful to the community for their collaboration.
Yeah, well, it sounds very positive indeed. Thank you for that update, Andrew. And yes, if you could carry on with your report to the committee, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's not going to be quite as meaty a report as last time. Last time we were reporting on 2 quarters and it's just the 1 quarter this time round. The overall story of it is business as usual and preparations for moving. You'll see from the statistics there that many of them show an incremental rise in numbers, particularly in numbers visiting our search room in Swansea, and also our search room in Neath, which is not far off, double what it was this time last year. All very positive to see, and it does show that this sort of slow drift back to normality after COVID, and it's just every quarter it seems to be like that, yeah. And we're glad to see that, and hopefully we'll see that carrying on. Group visits, I'd emphasize that those group visits under the heading group visits are groups coming in, and we'll talk about the school groups that have come in shortly. That's up as well. Audiences for off-site visits, we didn't do any off-site visits, so obviously that's down. And the off-site visits include online sessions for schools, and we didn't do any of those this time round. So that can sort of skew the overall title. You'll also see we've had a few issues with the website stats. We're trying to address those. The sort of rather catastrophic drop in people accessing the archive service website, I think I'm right in saying that's to do with the way the stats are gathered rather than anything else. I don't believe for an instant that suddenly people aren't interested in looking at it. But we're looking to address that to get a sort of more stable and more representative pattern of what's actually happening there. Similarly, there are issues with gathering details of how many hits there are to our catalogues on the Archives Hub. Once we've got our Apexio catalogue up and running, we'll be able to see in more detail what's actually happening there.
Just an observation, Andrew, that the figures for those latter two accessing the WeGas catalogues and the NAS catalogues was the same. There's no stats for last year either, is there?
No.
So, but as you say, that can't be right, can it? There's got to be people, I would have thought, accessing those catalogues.
Yes, there
Yeah.
must be.
Yes.
Yes.
Something's going amiss there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any questions they wanted to raise about this? No, thank you. So moving on to our outreach. As I mentioned at the previous meeting, our outreach activity is largely reactive. So we react to requests that are sent to us. And so the 3 schools that asked for sessions during the year, during the quarter, Bishopston School, Cwmbwla School, and Ysgol Gynradd Gymraeg Tir Deunaw. Bishopston, we had, I think it was 100 children in the search room at different times in 2 groups. A very busy day, lovely to see them in. We haven't had any schools asking for sessions from Neath Talbot, but I'll be addressing that a little bit later as to what we've done to to sort of advertise our services and see what we can do to help to provide a service in Neath Talbot. We have reached out to the schools in the local area that have previously entered the Welsh Heritage Schools Initiative to see if they've got any plans to do anything in the future. And that includes schools from both authorities. As yet, we've had no response, but we'll continue to explore that to see if any of them want to do anything further. And then we've also done the usual sessions for the university seminar groups from Trinity St David's and also Swansea University. They're important to do. They do result in visits from the students afterwards, and it's a good way to foster a rapport with the universities. And then we continue to host our monthly meeting of the Glamorgan Family History Society. We do a short talk for them, and I know they're appreciative of our efforts and our hospitality, and it's good to have them there. They've been supportive of our service over many years, and it's good to return the favour. Yes, Peter, do you have a question?
Yeah, when you say Cwmbwla Primary School, do you mean Burlice? Cwmbwla Primary School hasn't existed for 5, maybe 7 or 8 years.
Oh, I beg your pardon, and that must be it then. Sorry about that.
Andrew, if I could just ask, with regard to the visits or encouraging schools from Neath Talbot, of course, the council's just recently, in the last few months, issued its heritage strategy. So I was just wondering if there is something that could connect in with that in terms of encouraging schools to use the service, because that is that is such a key strategy for the council. So it strikes me that there might be some opportunity there to build on that in schools.
So yeah, I think that would be a we've obviously got the heritage strategy, the cultural strategy. So and part of the the aim obviously is to engage with the schools. I think I've just made a note. I think perhaps our sort of head teachers regular meetings or monthly meetings with primary schools and secondary schools, and I think perhaps it's an opportunity to get you along to that, Andrew, at some stage and engage with them at that level, and then make them aware of the services you've got. I don't think it'd be particularly arduous to do,
No.
and I think that might be a good way in. They're all looking for opportunities to, with the curriculum as well and Cynefin. So I think that would be it's a good opportunity for them.
I agree. I mean, I do. There's a little bit about this in the next section. So if there are no further, there is.
Lyndon.
Yes. Lyndon.
Great. Hi. Morning. On the school visit, you say you sent a note out, or how you engage with the schools. Is that possible? You can share that so we can share it and chase up our own local schools.
Well, information about how we engage with the schools is on our website. There's a special section on engagement with schools, but I can send you a link to that. That's the best thing.
Okay, no, that would be great. And if we can help to build that up, that would be great.
Very much
Thank you very
appreciated.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Lyndon.
Andrew.
Thank you. So moving on slightly, other engagement and joint working. We talked about this at the last Archives Committee meeting, and I wanted to meet with Harriet Eaton, who's the Heritage Officer in Neath Talbot. And we've long been aware that she's the one that most of the schools go to when they want history sessions put together. So we thought it'd be a good thing to talk to her. I know she's very busy, and what we really wanted to do was to explore ways in which we could support her, and to also to see if she knows of any log jams and issues that mean that Neath Talbot schools don't think of us in the first instance. And I think a lot of the time, we advertise the work we do with schools equally to both authorities. We don't offer anything to Swansea that isn't also offered to Neath. So it must be about the message getting out there. And I think Harriet's take on it was that we're not known about in Neath Talbot. She suggested as well, as you say, Chris, a meeting with the head teachers, talking about it there. Obviously, the head teachers, they'll then pass it down to the staff who are actually going to be delivering the sessions. But it's a good start. It's a good start. That's the sort of thing, and that's what we will do. Also, we said that we're very happy to help Harriet in doing the work that she does, because I do feel that's quite an important thing. Thank you, Gareth. It's an important thing to support Harriet in what she does. She cited the example of one of the schools which she'd pushed in our direction because they were doing a particular piece of work, but we could help them with. And she said, "Did they ever get in touch with you?" And the answer was no, they didn't. So you can't round them up and force them. We do what we can. Is the thing.
Chair, I think it's put slightly out of sight, out of mind, I think, isn't it? So let's put it under their nose in terms of the head teachers and see where we go. And you're absolutely right. Harriet's the key contact there. But you're obviously working with Harriet and talking to her regularly. So she works for Claire, who sent apologies today. But so there's a direct link there. So use it as you need to.
And also, in terms of what she delivers, if she says, "Oh, I could really do with this resource or that resource," then we'll send her things and help her with that. A few other little bits and pieces. There's the House of Memories project run by National Museum Liverpool. It creates an app which it's a museum-led dementia awareness program. There's an app where carers and care service providers and families can put together images and other things, which will mean something to people with dementia, and it's intended as a sort of resource to help them. So they were looking for heritage organisations to submit items, and they're particularly looking to do with things which would be of interest to the LGBTQ plus community. And we found a number of items that would possibly be of interest, and some of them have been included within that, which is a good thing to help with. Then we also hosted the launch of Gerald Gabb's latest tome, The History of Swansea, Volume 3, Part 1, and we're very glad to help him with that. He did a lot of the research with us, and he says his front room is gradually emptying of volumes. I know it's for sale in the market, but he's a very erudite historian, and it's good to help him with that.
Indeed it is, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Andrew, if I could ask about the app, is that they're going to create an app which anybody can access in terms of the resource, or is it an app for others to create their own memories for the family? So if what level is it aimed at?
I don't know exactly. I think the idea is that the carers and families would be able to amass the things which trigger the memories.
Yeah, so it's for the people, the person they are caring for.
That's right. Yes, but for them, yeah.
But they're just facilitating.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes. Now then, moving on to the online exhibition. I've got a bit of a thing for these charters. They're fantastic things. They are the jewels of our collections, but they're functionally invisible and closed to most people. And in fact, most people would view them as an artifact. There it is, looking nice, rather than what does it actually say. So my aim has been for quite some time to do something to make them more available. And I've kicked off with the Aberavon Charter. The Aberavon Charter is a fantastic thing. Only small. It's got its seal. It's about the size of a 2p piece. And it dates from around about 1306. So I promised at the last meeting that you would have an exhibition to look at, and there it is. And the link is there in your minutes. And I hope you enjoy it and find it interesting. And it tells a bit about the story of how the charter came to be written in the first place. It's got a fantastic story, not just how it was written in the first place. It's quite unique from the point of view that it was granted by a Welsh lord rather than one of the Norman lords. And also what happened to it later. There's the rather Gothic story of Cromwell's men and how it was hidden by the portrait of Aberavon, and therefore it survives today. But it also has a transcription and a translation, and the intention is to enable it to be studied as well as just looked at and also enjoyed. We also helped, I should say, it should really have gone under the other engagement and joint working section, but we did mention at the last meeting that we've been working with the Rich History Project. We're a very energetic group, an erudite group working in Port Talbot, and they've been doing some work on the Lords of Avon, and we attended the launch of the Avon Erioed resources a few weeks ago. And I gave them my translation and transcription to put on the website, so it's available there as well. We do reference the work they've done and their website on our little feature on our website. And it's good that so much work is going on about the history of Aberavon and how it came to be in the first place. This isn't a one-off. This is going to be part of a rolling programme of putting the charters on. The next ones are going to be Swansea's 3 royal charters. They're sort of like Russian dolls. You get the original one from Henry III. It's then successively confirmed by Edward II and Edward III. Each charter includes the text of the previous one. So by the time you get to the third one, it's got the confirmation of all of them. and it's all in there. So it makes sense to do them as a block. Then later on, we'll move on to Neath Abbey charters, of which there are many. Some of them are absolutely enormous. Then we look at the Margam Abbey charter and Swansea's Lord of Gower charter, and they'll all be on there then. But I hope it'll be something that the committee will enjoy and that our searchers will enjoy. And it's a nice way of making them available.
I think I hadn't realised that was online, so I'll make sure our comms team are aware of that actually, and see if we can flag up that link a little bit. And as you said in there, as you walk into the entrance to Talbot Civic in a sort of slightly stuck out the corner way, there's this the old piece of wood, piece of timber that it was in originally in this glass case, but it's a bit hidden, should we say? So great that that's online. So thank you for doing that.
It would be nice if that was perhaps more prominently displayed, because I've seen it and I must say I've wondered what it was. And,
I did as well.
Yeah, I shouldn't say that, but it was. And I thought, when I read it here, I thought, well, it's lovely that it is on display so people can use it, but it would be nice if there was a little bit around it. Well,
part of the issues of not having a museum service.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, but I mean, it sounds a wonderful project. I've not had time to look at it myself, but you know, if we can encourage others, yes, that'd be great, Robert.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, because I think, you know, it's an interesting project, and I'm glad it's not being hidden away anymore. They are being brought to life. I just brought it up on the screen, and I could see the work that's gone in, and the more we disseminate this, the line I like on this, are you probably aware of it? And they shall give 8 gallons from any brewery for the rent of the mill. That's tax to me. So I think, you know, if there's any more instances like that, let's find out about that.
It's never been repealed as far as I know.
Yeah, Ridian.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was reading that now, Robert, as well. Yeah, I had a little chuckle. Just an interesting thing, Andrew. Do we know, I mean, who this Edward Barker was who found it in his house sale in Cornwall? And do we know how it got to Cornwall? Or do you know anything about that part of the history of it?
I don't know categorically. I think more is known about it, but from what I think I know, and please don't quote me on this, somebody was basically buying a piece of furniture and discovered it had a whole lot of documents jammed down the back of it. So it was utterly a serendipitous thing, and whoever it was looked at it and thought, oh, I don't know what this is, let's find out. And once that was discovered, that's when he got in touch then with Talbot Borough Council and handed it over. Now, I would also say, and we are going to add to this because there's a little bit more to go in there. The charter was in the hands of Lord Swansea at the end of the 19th century, because there's a work called, Cartai by a chap called G.T. Clark, who does a massive amount of work collecting and transcribing charters, and they're all published in 6 volumes, all the charters that you could find that had anything to do with Glamorgan. And this one is in there, and it's down there as being Lord Swansea's charter. There are 2 other Aberavon charters that are also Lord Swansea's charter. We've no idea what happened to those. And it'd be lovely if at some stage another piece of furniture would show up with a document down the back. We do have the text of them though, the Latin text, and I've done a translation of those, and it's more the difficulty of making sure that, you know, the Welsh translation can be done in a way which works. So I tend to have to do that bit, and then it's corrected by the translation unit. They don't really feel happy to do the work themselves. But I'm going to add that to the charter exhibition. But it'd be lovely if we knew. We don't know how they ended up in the chest of drawers. It was with Lord Swansea, then it wasn't. How and where and why, we have no idea. But it sort of goes to show that these things are out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you know, is this gentleman still alive? If he is, I should nominate him for Freedom of the Borough.
He'd be very old if he was around now, but I think he yes.
Well, let's hope we do have another significant discovery. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Andrew?
Now then, moving on to digital preservation. Yes, we reported that the Archive Service had entered into a joint consortium for the management of digital archives in Wales. Now, the work has been progressing slowly over a number of years, and well-established committee members will remember it being discussed back in the mists of time. We're now getting to a stage where the work's actually going to be done. A company who actually deliver the management of the archives has been appointed. That's a company called Preservica, and the training is going to be rolled out in January, and we'll actually start the work of uploading the records, the digital archives that we've got at that point. It was reported before that there was a plan to put together a funding bid to get an additional member of staff to upload material into the repository on behalf of the 3 Swansea-based repositories. So that's us, West Glamorgan Archives, Trinity St David's, and Swansea University. But Trinity St David's have withdrawn for various reasons from the project. So we've decided that we can do it with our existing staff, and the work will start in January.
Does the withdrawal of Trinity St David's have a significant impact on this, or were they just coming in as part of the fund to fund it?
It doesn't have any impact on the project as a whole. They're simply one of a number of partners who are listed up here. Actually, I mean, it's not all the archives in Wales. It may be that some of the other record offices, some of the other repositories are looking at how it goes to decide whether or not to join up at a later date. I don't know. But Paris Archives has expressed an interest in joining, I believe. So it clearly is a sort of ongoing thing. It's more a question of the funding of an extra member of staff. So I think funding was going to be put forward for that out of the Archive Service reserves. But I'm just, it's worth mentioning that that won't be happening now.
Right.
But the withdrawal of Trinity St David's doesn't have any material impact on what we do. And it will be delivered as originally intended.
Any questions from anybody? Thank you.
Moving on to moving the collections, building work continues, and there had been a request for a visit at an appropriate time. I think it's very much hard hats, bricks, cement. I don't feel that the committee would gain an awful lot from a visit at this point. So nothing has been organised. We're assured that everything is on course and that that all is well. And so we're spending our time making sure that we're ready. And that's one thing we can definitely report on. Solid progress overall. 95% of the volumes and rolled maps have been boxed. There's a small amount yet to do, but there's a plan in place as to how we're going to do it. And all the other material is boxed, and the boxes are barcoded. These barcodes are going to be crucial, so we'll know where things are at different times. And also where they are when we put them on the shelves. It's 2.5 miles of shelves in total. Absolutely crucial for business continuity that we're able to lay hands on things as soon as possible. We want to be able to open and all be sitting there with our hair neatly brushed, our shoes cleaned, and able to say, oh yes, we can get that for you, rather than sort of frantically wild-eyed, scrabbling, and oh, sorry, we've been looking for it all morning. We can't find it. So the idea is that we're going to get everything organised so we know where it is at any given time, and that everything is as it should be. I'm also reporting that we're undertaking a project to monitor the environment within the boxes. It's one thing to monitor the air blowing around in the strong rooms. It's a completely different thing to monitor what's going on inside the boxes, basically because paper and parchment will soak up moisture like a sponge. I don't have the figures at my fingertips, but there's figures on how much water a cubic meter of paper and parchment can hold, and the amount of water that a cubic meter of air can hold. There's a massive difference in it. The paper and parchment can hold far more. So blowing around nice dry air will tell one story. Another story is told by what's going on inside the boxes. So we're in the middle of monitoring that to see what the score is. The environmental conditions in the strong rooms have never been ideal. It's below ground level. The sea isn't far away. And there's the air conditioning plant is working 24/7 to make it as it should be. We've brought in 2 industrial dehumidifiers. We brought them in October, just over a year ago, and they've been deployed as a backup to ensure that the collections are in the best possible condition before we move. We want to hoik out as much moisture as we can, basically. And we've taken expert advice from Chris Woods from National Conservation Service as to what the best thing to do is. Typically, rather bizarrely, it's during the summer months that the humidity in the strong rooms rises. That's all to do with how the heat affects the cooling function of the air conditioning plant rather than anything else. So we actually turned it off this year and deployed the dehumidifiers, and it had a much better effect than leaving it on had the previous summer. So it's just to reassure the committee that we're doing everything we can to monitor and to not just to monitor and to hold up our hands, but to monitor and to adjust what's going on. Okay, Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to just really support what you said, Andrew, in terms of the visiting the new building. I was there a couple of weeks ago, and it is still very much in that sort of shell initial stages, so it's quite difficult, I think, to really visualise the space of the archive. So I think I agree. I think it'll be much better when things have progressed forward a bit more and members are able to kind of visualise the space and see from that perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Andrew, just to ask, first of all, to say thank you to you and your staff for working so hard to get the collection 95% boxed up and ready to go. So you've done sterling work. So thanks to you and the team for doing that, because I'm sure it has been hard work getting everything organised and in the right boxes and, as you say, barcoded. Because the building is not yet ready, and I suppose that was my next question, can you please remind us what the timescale is for the Forest Over, and the fact that the collection is going to be in boxes for some little while, aren't they? It's not going to happen next month, or is it within the next 6 months? I'm just thinking about the long-term impact on the collection. I know you're monitoring it, but they are going to be in these boxes for some while, aren't they? The collections.
The boxes are proper storage boxes, so that's where they will be stored.
Yeah.
Basically, most of the collection was boxed beforehand. Volumes weren't.
Right.
That's a crucial thing. They were simply put on the shelves. That's what had been done. So to have those boxed, we've had a ongoing project. It's gone on for more than 10 years, measuring them, having custom-made boxes made for them for protection. The same is true of rolled plans, where they would just tend to be piled on the shelves loose. And so we've had this ongoing project of boxing those as well.
Okay, so this is something that you would have been doing anyway.
We should have been doing it anyway. It's an opportunity to get it right.
Okay.
But it's The barcoding is a crucial thing to be absolutely sure we can lay our hands on things. In terms of the timescale, we're simply one of a number of services that will be moving into a sort of and it's not up to us to, announce when it's going to be open or anything like that. Other than to say that, to the best of our knowledge, it's that the work is moving on to schedule, and I believe it'll be open during 2025. But it's not for me to say categorically when that's going to be. Also, for the archive service, obviously we can't simply say we will be open on the same day that everything else is open. I mean, we take up, from the public point of view, a relatively small amount of the total space, but in terms of the amount of material that has to be moved in for us to function, it's a lot. So it may be that there's a sort of hybrid service over 2 sites. It may be that we need to close for a certain length of time. These are things yet to be worked out.
Thank you, Andrew. But it's good to know that everything is going according to plan and progressing as it should do. So thank you.
Moving on now to staff, we had a very hefty section on staff changes at the last meeting. Sadly, Lowry, who came to us in May, left her position at the end of October. It was for family and personal reasons, and we were sad to see her go, and she was sad to leave as well. Unfortunately, that leaves a vacancy in a very pivotal role of archivist, and so efforts are made to recruit a successor as soon as possible. As soon as possible still takes a while, and we're still an archivist down. And we've appointed Amy Mitchell, who's a recent graduate from Aberystwyth University Archives course, and she'll be starting in the first week of January. So we wish her well, and we hope she settles in soon. But it has left the archive service very short-staffed, and we've been doing all that we've been doing whilst having a full-time equivalent of 5.6. So I'd like personally to pay a small tribute to the staff. I work with a fantastic bunch of people. I couldn't report on the things that I'm reporting on were it not for their efforts, and they've done very well, and I'm very proud of them. That's all I have to say on staff.
Well, I think, Andrew, the committee would endorse your comments about your staff. We always have such excellent reports, and the work that the archive service does is testament to the quality of the staff that you have, and their dedication, commitment, enthusiasm, and real desire to make it the best that it can be. So, yes, we endorse your comments.
Thank you.
Any questions or observations from anybody, please? No hands up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. There's a list of professional meetings and training. Various training goes on. Staff have been to a number of different training events to do with the Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan and these sort of things. I'm glad that staff are doing that. It's important to look at ways we can assist with this and be aware of these sort of things and see where we can use them in our service. And you can see with the professional meetings, the work with the Wales Digital Preservation Consortium continues. And finally, accessions of archive collections are listed at the back there. Grateful to Councillor Smith for his work in brokering the deposit of the records of Bethlehem Cadle. Grateful to all councillors for any efforts they're able to put into securing deposits of archives. In a sense, you are our eyes and ears on the ground. We're very glad to hear about any institutions that have closed or that are interested in depositing their records, and always grateful to any of you who are able to act as a go-between.
Thank you, Andrew. And I was only thinking when I read the list, some of them, the records are up to sort of fairly recent, but we have to think long term, don't we? And in 20, 25, 50 years time, people will be doing their research, and these records are important, just as we're finding the older records are important, but it's just an ongoing program, isn't it, of preservation and conservation and making things accessible to people. So yes, it's these donations are very critical, aren't they, to
Absolutely.
the resources that you're able to build up.
I should also add that where we are at the moment, we're getting full, whereas the storage space in Astorva includes a hefty expansion space, which is very much needed, as these pages bear testament. And we're very glad that that's going to be the case. It enables us to carry on doing what we do.
Well, that's excellent news, isn't it? We've got plenty of space to expand. So we'll look forward to continuing donations and being deposited there for years to come. Thanks very much, Andrew.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or observations from the committee before we close? No one? Right. As that is the case, thank you all very much indeed. Oh, Lyndon.
Great, thank you, Chair. I was only going to say big thanks to Andrew, really, because he's been in the job I know he's been with us for a long time, but been in this job for a short time and has really hit the ground running. And there's some really exciting projects coming forward, and just like to congratulate him.
Thank you very much, Lyndon. That's very kind. If I might thank the committee as well for your support, continuing support to our service. It's very much appreciated.
Well, thank you, Andrew. And yes, I mean, as a committee, we are. It's such an interesting committee, and we are all, very supportive of the West Glamorgan Archive Service, and indeed very proud of it, because it is a fantastic service for the communities. If that's all, then I will draw the meeting to a close. Thank you all very much indeed for your contributions, and just wish you all a very happy Christmas and healthy and prosperous New Year. And we shall see you all next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Yep, same to you and everyone.